So Kenyans, some good news coming from the pride of Africa, some good news coming from our national carrier, Kenya Airways, is that they have realized an after-tax profit of around 513 million in the first half of 2024. This is good news. This is big news. If you are Kenyan, you should definitely be interested in this kind of information because, guys, I'm one of those people who really was getting worried about Kenya Airways. I was getting worried because this is a national carrier. It is the topmost brand we can use to market our country. It is the most standout brand that you can use to attract tourists and even to give tourists an experience of a lifetime as they're traveling to our country. And therefore, the ongoing conversations about Kenya Airways going down, struggling, and even the options of selling it to private investors really was not going down well with me. And I think no matter the content or no matter the nature of this news, if you're Kenyan, you need to be excited about such news. So today I just want to break it down to you so that you get to understand what do they really mean, what happened for them to be able to achieve this 513 million after-tax profit. But before I do that, there are two things you guys need to understand. When you're talking about profits, there is something called economic profit and then we have accounting profit. This 513 million is definitely an accounting profit. When you are monitoring profits, there is the real profit that you make where you can clearly feel the difference in your pockets, where the profits that you have made can clearly make a tangible impact in your business or in your company. Accounting profits, there is usually a lot of adjustments that are made to it. There is a lot of non-monetary adjustments that are made in the accounting books that will therefore not give you the actual profits in terms of the real money or real economic value that you're gaining out of your business. And that is why most companies normally maintain two sets of accounts or two sets of books so that they can clearly track the accounting profit and the economic profit. Most of the time, the economic profit is slightly bigger than the accounting profit because the accounting profit will always be lower for the sake of managing taxes and tax obligations. So therefore, the resultant economic profit that Kenya Airways could have realized might be bigger than what we are seeing at 513 million, but that is a conversation for another day. The most important thing is that they have reported a 513 million profit after tax half year. So that you know how significant this news is, I am not going to be negative. Whatever things that could have been done behind the scenes, I don't know. I am trusting that the people who have come up with this report, they're professionals and they are doing their jobs and they know the impact of this kind of news, and that whatever I see is a true and fair representation of the organization. Because I've heard people say, how could they have turned almost a 21 billion loss in the previous year suddenly to 513 million? I don't work at Kenya Airways. I don't know. The only thing I can use for now is the report, the official report that we have. Now, the reasons behind this turnaround, they have said that it is because of the implementation of a project called Project Kifaru. Project Kifaru is a project that they initiated for the purposes of turning around the tiding of Kenya Airways. Among the things they tried to do was customer obsession. You know, every company right now talks about customer obsession, where they are trying to give a customer a real experience. They're trying to make sure that the services are tailored to meet the exact needs of the client so that the client does not have any doubt that that airline is the right airline for their travels. So there is a significant attention that has been put to that. They have also done something called operational excellence. Operational excellence just means that everything that needs to happen at specific times in a certain type of manner happens exactly as the company desires, so that they reduce any losses that will arise out of inefficiencies. And they are saying that they have tried to improve that as much as possible. To what degree, as of now, I cannot explain. They have also talked about financial discipline. I think financial discipline is something we all understand. It just means that using money when needed, where needed, just avoiding wastage, so that the output that is gotten out of the money that has been used is exactly what they desire. They have also talked about innovation. I've always said for a very long time, a company that is at the level of Kenya Airways cannot afford to only focus on operational excellence as their strategy. You need to innovate. I don't know to what degree Kenya Airways has innovated. Maybe you guys can share with me in the comment section. But I can guarantee you, innovation has to be the top most priority for any company that has reached maturity, for example, Kenya Airways. Now, the main highlights that have driven this company to where it is right now is something called passenger growth. So they are saying that there is an increase of passengers by almost 10%, such that they have handled around 2.5 million customers. One of the ways in which you increase your revenue is to either increase the number of the volume of passengers, or you increase the price. And I think they are saying there is an increase in passengers in this first half of the year. What do you attribute this increase in passengers to? Can we say that this is because of Project Kifaru? That's what they are saying. I don't know to what degree it's Project Kifaru impacting the growth in passengers. But if it is actually Project Kifaru, then they need to keep it up. They have also increased something called capacity expansion. The two ways in which you can measure capacity of an airline is something called available seat kilometers and revenue passenger kilometers. So this is new knowledge 101. Available seat kilometers is the available seats multiplied by the number of kilometers traveled. So if you have, let's say, 100 planes, and the 100 planes are traveling 500,000 kilometers, so the available seats for those kilometers is what is called available seat per kilometer. What it tries to measure is that what is the number of seats that are available to go a certain number of kilometers. It's the same concept even in matatu industry, even in the buses industry. If you're going to spend a certain amount of money to employ makangas and to employ drivers and to also use fuel, it is better for you to maximize the seats. Yeah, you see matatus trying to make sure that the buses are full before the buses leave. So it's just to make sure that how many seats are available for you to go all the way to the destination. The more the seats, the better. So they have increased that capacity by almost 16%. How they did that, I don't know. Is it that they increased planes, or did they change the type of planes that they were using so that they get planes that have more available seats? Those people who have gone further in this understanding can share with us. And the next one is revenue passenger kilometers. So revenue passenger kilometers is the passengers available that are traveling, paying customers, not the non-paying. So the revenue passenger kilometers is the revenue paying passengers plus the distance in kilometers. And you want that also to increase. And it has increased by 14%. So they are saying their revenue increased by around 22%. to 91 billion. Sometimes I look at 91 billion as the revenue for Kenya Airways, and then I compare to a company like Safaricom, and I'm like, there's still a lot of work to be done. Well, I know these are different businesses, different business models, solving different purposes and services. But if you look at the amount of money that an airline like Ethiopian Airlines are making, then you will understand why Kenya Airways really needs to keep growing and try and as much as possible to grow this number. Ethiopian Airlines is really doing great, and then the revenue alone, I will do a comparison of these two airlines and you will see how significantly far Ethiopian Airlines has gone. So they have also done a good job on managing costs, and which they have managed costs. They have reduced their overheads by around 22%, which is a good thing, and therefore profitability has increased by almost 102%. The CEO of Safaricom, not of Safaricom, sorry, the CEO of Kenya Airways has said that they will continue to focus on something called capital restructuring. So let these big words not scare you. Capital restructuring is just making sure that wherever it is that they are getting their money, whether they borrowed the money to run, whether it is that they have gotten new investors, they're trying to restructure the sources or the existing capital to make sure that the company does not experience a lot of pressure on servicing those kind of capital. Therefore, they need to reduce something called financial leverage. So financial leverage is just reducing the amount of money that you need to be paying back to the capital that has been invested in your business, especially debt. So how can you reduce the debt? You see, this reduction of debt is everywhere. The government of Kenya is trying to reduce debt. Kenya Airways is trying to reduce debt, that they can remove away that obligation of paying interest and all that on a day-to-day basis. That will allow to free more money so that the money can be used to plan for longer term kind of projects. So as I come to the end, just to give you a glimpse of Kenya Airways itself, it flies to like 45 destinations worldwide. And in Kenya, in Africa alone, there are 37 destinations in Africa. That's a good presence. And that explains to you why historically, before it started going down, Kenya Airways was a top airline in the continent of Africa. It is connecting over 5 million passengers, and that also, you will come to realize, is still very little compared to what Ethiopian Airlines is doing, and it's also carrying over 70,000 tons of cargo annually through the hub of JKIA. So the final thing to note about Kenya Airways is that it's a member of the SkyTeam Alliance. So as you know, Kenya Airways only has 45 destinations, but you see people are traveling across the world. It's therefore important that it partners with other members so that they can still make sure that the client or the travelers are delivered to the destination. That's why Kenya Airways is the only African airline that is a member of the SkyTeam Alliance that ensures that you can be delivered to almost 1,060 destinations in the world across 173 countries. The members of this SkyTeam Alliance are like the Air Argentina, Aeromexico, Air Europa, we have KLM, Korean Air. That is a good thing because it makes sure that you can still use Kenya Airways and still be delivered into another member of the SkyTeam Alliance, and you'll be delivered across the world. Now guys, that was my time. I just wanted to announce to you this good news. I really hope that by the end of the year, when the second half of the year ends, we shall have even better news about Kenya Airways. But to let you know, if I were president, I will not even entertain any idea of selling Kenya Airways to any private investor. While commercially it makes a lot of sense because commercial investors, like private investors, they understand the business, they know how to make adjustments to such like businesses. But in the end, we'll have lost such a huge brand ambassador, the country of Kenya. There's a lot of pride we get from having an airline of our own, and whatever it has to take, Kenya Airways has to remain as a Kenyan brand. So that's my time for now. See you again next time.